Hi, my friends. I don't know what happened. I was trying to bring a guest on, so I'm going to clearly have to do a little bit. It is the live. Yeah, it wasn't the actual announced live. So hopefully everybody can find me. I'm still so new at this TikTok thing. I think it's for the young people, but I have found that there's a huge, wonderful audience out here, and we get so many people that are just wonderful and that hang out with us. So I am, becoming this TikTok thing and doing it every night at 7 o'clock. So tell your friends. And so I was trying to bring a guest on and I could not find her. So if she pops up here, hopefully I can do the invite and let her in. So anyway, like I was saying, she is super awesome. She is a family and divorce attorney. So one of the biggest things that happens with the anxiety that comes on with menopause and the changes. Oh, she says I'm here. Okay. Hey, Catherine, can you request to be a guest? Try that. Invite a guest. Can't. Let me see if I can grab you. Guess. Invitation sent. Okay. I think I sent you an invite. We'll see. I don't know. We're technically not supposed to start till 7:05, so I'm actually doing okay. Let me see if I can get you again. I don't know. I might have to figure this out later, Catherine. I don't.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Hello, hello. I can't see your pretty face, but I can hear you.
You just see my profile.
Oh, so we just get your profile. That's it.
I'm gonna hop out, turn on my camera.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna hop right back on, okay?
Okay, cool. Cool. I can hear her. Yay. Hi, Elaine. So Cape Cod, I've never been. That sounds absolutely amazing. So you'll have to tell me. This will be fun. Yes.
I tried to find out how to get my camera on.
Please.
Okay, so I can only go audio as a guest.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, yeah. My moderator just reminded me, which is also my wonderful little fiance, to tap the screen. Show some love, you guys. Give me some hearts. You just keep tapping it like that. I don't know. It's a thing. Okay. So Catherine, tell them who you are. I mean, I think they kind of know who I am now. I'm just the lady who rants about ovarian failure all the time.
Well, I am an energy coach. I'm a life coach. You mentioned earlier that I'm an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And I am fascinated with what is expected of women by society versus how I think women our age want to be. I don't want to back off into the corner and be quiet and not be relevant and fade out into the woodwork. I think that we as women deserve to have a wonderful second half. And what I have found is when I feel better physically, everything is better. And I wish that I could show you my picture because I am holding hormone bliss right now.
Oh, man.
And I have to tell you how much I'm absolutely loving it.
That's so awesome. So tell them what you're talking about. They might not know.
Oh, okay. So you and I met back in September, and I was experiencing all of the fun stuff, the hot flashes, the inability to sleep, the teenage breakouts, crankiness, tiredness. I mean, is any of this sounding familiar to you or anybody else?
Hey, y'all put in the comments if that's you.
Well, I sent you pictures of the medication that I'm on, and I told you all of the stuff that I was experiencing as a menopausal woman. And you sent me some hormone cream. It's called Hormone Bliss, Menopause Redefined. And this isn't even the one that is created specifically for me. I have not done the blood work yet. This is just, I think, the standard cream. And I've been on it a couple of weeks now. And I think I've had one hot flash, and I may have just been hot. I'm not real sure. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat. I'm feeling so much better. And I'm delighted that you asked me to come on tonight, because I can talk firsthand about how wonderful this has been. And in fact, I'm going to start making this available to my people that come to me for coaching and come to my retreats and all of that good stuff, because I shouldn't have to keep this to myself. Oh, my daughter just said, "Go, Mom, woohoo."
Oh, is that her? Okay.
She's so funny. She could figure out how to do my camera, I bet, because she's 21 and apparently they know how to do all of this stuff. I wish you were here, Elliot.
They do.
Do what?
Oh, yeah, they do. My staff are all in their like early 20s, early 30s. And it's just, I have to hand all that stuff off to them because they were literally born with cell phones in their hands. So in the crib, I don't know. It's a thing.
Yes, they were. Oh, I see that the test kits are available.
Yes.
That is my next step with you, Dr. Tammy. I am going to get out and get my blood work done. I'm going to send it back in. And then if the standard Hormone Bliss is making me feel good, then I can only imagine when it is tailored for me,
Sure.
how wonderful it's going to be.
Yeah, we kind of bypass that a little with her being an attorney, and she's so busy. I had to chase her down, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just going to send you just the standard thing and just try it. So we kind of worked backwards with you.
And that's okay. It's working.
So, yeah.
Sometimes backwards is the best we can do, and we just do it.
Yeah. And normally what we do is the test kit, and we actually do have the Christmas special running for $119 for the test kit. And then we look at it and then we tailor your stuff to you. So we do have some blood tests, but the saliva test is really easy too. So I probably should have done that with you, Catherine, because like all you had to do was spit in a tube and send it in. So we still can do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I can in the comfort of my home, spit on the test kit, right?
Yes. It's very easy. We try to make it as easy as possible. It's funny because we've had so many people get the kits, and we've literally had to chase them down. And I know we as women, we're multitaskers, which is probably also why we have so much anxiety, because we handle so much. But we have a list that I have people full-time going down the list and saying, "You ordered a kit, you haven't done it yet." And everybody's like, "Oh, I know, I have to do it." But I think part of that is that women are so used to being gaslighted and marginalized that you're just crazy, or they go to the doctor and they, want to get they want to put them on antidepressants or something like that. And so I don't think people really believe the power of this. I think people are still scared of the word hormones, even though this is, bioidentical natural hormones. And I think that they put everybody else first. We're the last.
Absolutely. And I think that that's part of the beauty. I'm glad that you said that we put other people first and we put ourselves last. The beauty of reaching your 50s or your 60s is that our kids grow up, they go do their own lives. Some of us are winding down an initial career and looking at other careers. And this time of life allows us, for the first time in my life, to start putting myself first. And that's a very strange feeling. I think it's really helped. I've been married almost 10 years to my husband, and he puts me first. And he is constantly encouraging me to do self care and to, go get a massage or go relax or, any number of things. And it's such a nice reminder to me because I'm not used to doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I take care of everybody around me, and then I'm just worn out and exhausted and all that kind of stuff. But I'm moving into a really neat phase of my life. Not that I don't miss my sweet child. She's in Los Angeles, and I miss her so much. But I love that she's going and living, her life, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, this is an opportunity where we should be living our lives because we've raised our kids, and now it actually is the time we can move into that. And unfortunately, not to be the negative, girl here in the room, but it's like there's other roles that move in, and it's like taking care of our parents sometimes, or when kids move back home, or whatever the case may be. It's like we get spread really thin again, and it's really the time when we're supposed to be empty nest and doing all the things that really are kind of feeding us. But I almost think we look for things to do because we get so used to multitasking, especially people like attorneys and doctors and all the people out there that do everything that they do. But I think it's really hard for us to kind of shut off the caretaker and to really take care of ourselves, because it's just not something that we normally do. I think it's just the female brain itself. And we can get into estrogen and all the hormones and everything, but the other hard part is that when our ovaries literally dry up and we have no ovarian hormones, our brains literally are drying up from the inside out too. And so I think part of the anxiety that we get is just because we have the brain fog and we're not sleeping and we're not thinking. And then it's just really hard to take care of ourselves because now we're just exhausted and we've had a whole life of being exhausted.
Throw another element into it. As caregivers, and for those of us who've been moms and that kind of thing, do you ever find that you feel guilty for practicing self care? And that should be crazy. It should be crazy for us to have any kind of guilt about taking care of ourselves. But I feel guilty. I mean, when I feel guilty. Why? Why do we do that to ourselves?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we've learned it maybe from the women in our family because they've always been caretakers. And I don't know, maybe that's something in the primitive brain because we take care of babies and we're just kind of designed that way. Because I always say men are like a light switch. Testosterone's pretty simple. We are like the cockpit of an airplane when you look at all the different dials and things, because we have to have babies and periods, and we're just super super complex. And so I don't know. I love that book. I don't know if you've ever read that, but Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And they talk a lot about compartmentalization and that women really work with all the parts of their brain because estrogen and progesterone and serotonin and GABA, they're all very different parts of the brain that are stimulated. And testosterone has, and guys have all those same hormones too, but they're more prone just because of the testosterone priority, that they kind of compartmentalize things. And so we can be thinking of 100 million things and they're like, what are you talking about? And we're like exaggerating all this stuff in our heads and we're thinking of all the things that could possibly be. And it's like something super simple and we've just read into everything.
Absolutely. I asked a guy friend of mine several years ago. I asked very naively, I think, yeah, very naively, I said, how many things are you thinking about at any given moment? And he looked at me so funny, and he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, what's going on in your mind right now? What are you thinking about?" And he goes, "I'm talking to you." And I said, "Yeah, but the other stuff." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm talking to you. I'm thinking about feeding my dog. I'm thinking about my work. I'm wondering if I should write a book. I listed all these things." And he goes, "How exhausting." He said, "I think of one or two things maybe most at any given time." And I thought, wow, I think that must be really relaxing to not have 700 things spinning through your brain at any given moment. But I do think that broadly, that is a difference. I know there are some men that do, think more like I'm describing. But, I think the broad brushstroke is that women really do think very differently from men.
Mm-hmm. Catherine, I know you're branching out and you're doing health coaching, but I'm just fascinated by the legal side of things, because I talk about this quite a bit with menopause, especially perimenopause is almost worse because your hormones are fluctuating so much. But with menopause, when you are literally in ovarian failure and you don't have those ovarian hormones anymore, it shuts down everything. And, it's like, my understanding is that one of the highest divorce rates happen in women after menopause, and it's a slow boil from perimenopause to menopause. And like, who can live with a woman who isn't offered some sort of hormone therapy when we know they're not crazy? We know their anxiety is chemical, but we also know that that's not sustainable for a relationship. So can you kind of tell, the folks we're hanging out with, kind of what your experience has been? And like, have you ever just looked at some of your women and just said, "Oh my gosh, if you just get on some hormones, we might be able to fix this"?
Usually when I'm representing the women, we're trying to figure out how to medicate the men to make them behave.
Okay, that's fair.
What I have found is the divorce rate, I think, just kind of goes across the edges. I see a lot of men in their 50s and 60s trading in for a younger woman. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a classic story, and there's a lot of truth to it. The interesting part is I have yet to have an unattractive or a woman with no personality or sense of humor or dumb or whatever. The only women that come in who are being traded in and whose husbands are cheating on them with younger women are gorgeous and funny and smart, and they bring everything to the table. And I have no idea why men feel the need to trade in for a younger model, because I think about myself in my 20s, and sure, I was cute and I weighed 100 pounds and all that kind of stuff, but I'm a much more interesting person at 56 than I was at 25 or 35, and I've changed so much even in the last 10 years. So yes, there's a high percentage rate of divorces after 50, but I find that it's more men leaving the women, and I don't know if the hormones or lack thereof contribute to it. I know that my husband has been remarkably kind and understanding as I have tried to navigate perimenopause, menopause, recognize that when my hormones are out of whack, I may not be lovely at times. He's actually sitting in here with me. Honey, am I lovely all the time? No.
Hey, ask him where my thank you card is for the hormones.
Yeah, where's the thank you card for the hormones that she sent me? Okay. So smart, Alec.
I've actually gotten quite a few thank you cards over the years from husbands, so it's a thing.
Oh, right now at some of the comments. What is it? When kids leave the house, moms are ready to bolt.
I'm out.
I love that. That's funny. That's Elaine Clark, I believe. But I'd love to see the comments. If what are people experiencing? What we're talking about, or I'd love to hear kind of what y'all are thinking about too.
Yeah. So if you guys out there don't mind to put your ages in there, it would be really nice if you just comment your age, because it'd be really nice to see what our audience is doing. What I do with hormones, I get pretty much the whole walk of life, so I get as young as, 9 years old when girls start having their hormone imbalances. Elaine says she's 68. Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's very vibrant. Hanging out here on TikTok. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, this whole tech thing has been a little bit of a challenge. I sure had a hard time. It's not old. Stop it. And it's feeling younger all the time. It is so nuts because like when I was in my 20s, it was like 40 sounded so old. And now when I'm in my mid 50s, like 70 sounding younger all the time. I'm like, but you know what? I think with technology, we have so many opportunities to live better. I mean, we have like the generation right before us was sort of the big pharma, and big pharma was like promising us that they could keep us alive. And now we are starting to find that that's not quality. They lived longer, right? My grandparents, I mean, they did open heart surgery on my grandpa, and they just kept trying to keep him going. And he's like 80, and he's just like they just looked so old back then. Maybe that's because I was younger, but it's like people are demanding a certain level of care now. And we're starting to realize what's in our food supply and, what's happening to us. And so many people are going outside the box and investing in themselves now and, doing things like hormones and stem cells and peptides and all the things. And so I think we're demanding a little bit different level of care. And I'm not going down with a fight. I mean, I do my hormones, I take a ton of supplements, and I know that insurance doesn't pay for any of that. And I don't expect them to either, So I love that. And I think that this awareness being on social media is really opening that awareness for everybody. But I'm not going down without a fight. And I want to be vibrant, and I want to be, I mean, if I have to just crumble up and blow away, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be in the nursing home like that. So I'm all about keeping, your hormone. I want the hormones of a 30-year-old for as long as I can.
I hear you, sister. I am the same way. I don't just want quantity of life. I want quality of life. And without having hormones in balance, I just, it's not easy to have that quality. And I don't want to just wait it out. Just wait another 5 or 6 years and you'll feel better. Wait another 10 years and you'll hopefully be through it. Or, I've also been told by doctors, menopause could last the rest of your life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. You're not listening to me. I want to feel good. And it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my preaching points all the time is that menopause, by definition, is just a year without periods. That means nothing. It means a lot if you're just sick of having periods, but that's the definition of menopause, and that's why so many doctors, I call them commercial doctors, don't get it, because they're thinking, oh, it's just a year without periods. In a year, you'll be done. But our ovaries literally run out of eggs and dry up. And, I always say I've seen so many ultrasounds of women 10 years out from menopause that the ultrasound read will actually say ovaries not detected, because they literally are tissue that just dissolve into the peritoneum. I mean, they can't even see them anymore. So, and when I check women's levels without hormones, that they're like non-detectable. I mean, it is nuts. And if we didn't have thyroid, no one would ever say we can't give you thyroid hormone because it'll cause cancer, right? But like we don't have ovaries. So my preaching point is this is not menopause. That means nothing. You are an ovarian failure. You have no ovaries anymore, and they're not going to grow back. And that is forever. And it's so sad that it happens at 50 because, like, 5 years ago when it happened to me, now I got however many years. So people ask me all the time, how long are you going to take hormones? And I'm like, till I grow ovaries back, I guess. I mean, that's my answer.
And you can't do that, right?
No, they don't grow back. Asking for a friend, they do not grow back. I mean, maybe. I mean, who was the lady in the Bible that had a baby at 100 or something like that? It was Abraham's wife. Yes.
Yeah. And Elizabeth had John the Baptist when she was in her 60s or 70s. So I don't want ovaries back to have a baby at 60 or 70. I'm good. I love my kid. Yay.
Can you imagine?
Another one at this stage in my life.
Yeah. I got Donnie to 20 now. I think I'm good. So, Catherine, I want to hear a little bit about what your other passion is and what you've stepped into and doing retreats. And you got some attention from some big people that wrote a big, yeah.
I got a 4-page spread in AY magazine. It's based in Arkansas, but it's got a nationwide readership and it's also online. And it's the women's health issue that comes out once a year. Last year it was, I think, number 2 in the nation. If I remember, I know it was top 3. And what I got to talk about is how the science behind energy. And what I mean by that is our brains don't have to freeze up. Mm-hmm. They don't have to become old and stagnant. And I think where women especially just kind of, crawl off into the corners to die when they reach a certain age is because they're feeling the brain fog, and their friends when their children were small, you had your friends that had kids the same age and you did all that kind of thing, and then kids are gone, careers are slowing down, and people have lost the sense of community. The brains don't feel as sharp, and it's very easy to just kind of sink in to yourself, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And what I have been studying and what I work with people on is using the tools that keep your brain elastic. It's neuroplasticity. Mm-hmm. You being the doctor, you know more about that than I do, but I'm learning, and I find it fascinating that we can create new synapses. We can really get our brains active. They don't just have to shut down. And so the last retreat that I did, it was a lot of fun. They're different each time, or they have thus far. I've done 3 or 4 of them. The last one, we used art as a form of making the brain work. Anytime that you do something different, it causes your brain to have to work. And when your brain has to work, it becomes more active. It's like a muscle. You work that muscle enough and it gets stronger. And I like to teach tools and share tools with women that are fun, that get your brain going. And in the process of doing it, when you have 15 or 20 women sitting around the table together, sharing stories and creating and sharing the war stories of getting older, all of a sudden you've got a community too. Mm-hmm. So the community, the activity, keeping your brain active, all of those things are so important. And I've been so shocked at how so many women don't know that this exists, that this community of women exists, that there are things that you can do, that, the hormones, I do Qigong. It's a Chinese energy exercise that's really easy and fabulous. And that's one of the things that I do that I teach at these retreats. One of the other things that we're doing at the retreats, and I'm going to have some online curriculum coming out soon, is we talk about, I call my business Becoming Crone, CROME. And this goes back to the 3 stages of life: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And so much of what we learn and what we're hardwired with, we learn before we're 8 years old. I've seen some studies that even say, by the time you're 5, you're pretty much hardwired. And that used to be the old thought process, was once you get hardwired, you're done. Mm-hmm. And that's just not true. Mm-hmm. We're finding out more and more that, yes, we're hardwired at that young age. And it does work for a lot of us when we're in that maiden stage. Mm-hmm. You're sweet, you're a little girl, especially in the South, you smile, you don't laugh too loud.
Bless your heart.
You're sweet, all of those things. And it kind of works in the motherhood stage. And you don't actually have to, have a child in order to be in the mother stage. It can be career, it can be your home, mm-hmm. anything like that. It's a time of creation. And it kind of works during that time period because you're so busy mm-hmm. that you don't realize it's not working necessarily. But then all of a sudden you're looking at the crone phase. And our society says, when you think of crone, what do you think of? Hook nose, mole, the hair growing out of it, old woman in black, the crone has such a negative connotation. But if you look at different cultures, the crone phase was when women came into their wisdom. I have a friend in Hawaii, and she said that the Hawaiian women get excited when they have that first gray hair. It means they're becoming. It means that they are the wise woman. I know you can't see me right now, but girl, I got some silver hair going on. But that's what I'm trying to flip. I'm trying to flip the script. The crone is not the ugly old woman who nobody wants to be around. We are becoming crone, and we get to choose what that is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I am loving it. I am absolutely loving, and I'm learning every day something new, and I love sharing that. It's exciting.
I love it. So I'm sure one of the things that comes up a lot is anxiety, and they're probably, I would think that they're coming to you because the changes and everything and the anxiety. So I promised everybody on this live that we would talk about some ways that you can deal with anxiety. Of course, I want everybody on bioidentical hormones, but just some takeaways and things. What would you do with the women that you coach or in one of your retreats I know, exercise and breathing and all that's important, but maybe just give them a few tips of things that they can do. I did a video in the car this morning announcing this live. And, sometimes it's just, even with hormones on board, just knowing that how busy of a day that I have, sometimes just sitting in my car, I have to do some deep breathing exercises because it's not that I don't want to be there. I love my patients. I love my clinic. I love my staff, but it's just, I don't know, cumulative over 55 years. I'm starting to just think, wouldn't it be nice just to go put my feet in the sand today or something? But yet I know that I'm just going to hit the ground running, and there's so much that I have to do. So maybe you could share some things that people could incorporate starting tomorrow when they're sitting in their cars thinking, I have to hit the ground running. How am I going to do this?
Okay, so one of the first things that comes to mind, and probably the number one thing that women say they are lacking in their lives is a sense of community. There's a bunch of studies done. I think there was one out of Australia. I could completely be making that up because I don't have it in front of me right now. But there have been several studies that have shown that your children, your spouse, your partner, those relationships are great. They don't lengthen your life and they don't contribute necessarily to the quality of your life as much as your female friends. And close female relationships, those relationships are the ones, the blue zones. You've heard of the blue zones around the world where more people live to 100 and they're healthy and all that kind of thing. They say that it's because of a sense of community. Yes, the food is good and you exercise and do all of that. But women who have community are happier and live longer. So, look for groups, look for, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? The beauty of technology nowadays is, you can hop on Facebook and type in knitting and 70 groups are going to pop up that you can join. Reach out to people in your community. We have an internet group, Little Rock Power Women, and people are constantly going on saying, I want to go bowling. Any women want to join me? And before you know it, there's 50 women saying, oh my gosh, I would love to. I think this is so great. There is such a need for community. So if you're feeling like you're a little lost or a little lonely, there are so many women out there who are experiencing that same thing. And I guarantee if you sit down and think of 5 women that you know, 3 of them are feeling the exact same way you are.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to reach out and just flat out say, hey, I want to go try something new. I want to develop a group. And I think that that's one of the most important things. And of course, it goes along with, like you said, the deep breathing. I work with a lot of art therapy. This is what the last retreat was. And the women really, really enjoyed putting their hands to a project. And most people don't come home from work and say, and now I'm going to paint for 2 hours. You're tired, you need to do dinner. This retreat allowed women to wake up in the morning and start creating and not feel guilty about doing it or feeling like they need to go clean the bathroom. I think that there are so many activities and so many groups that can really help with that anxiety. I mean, think about how anxiety inducing it is to be looking at going into this next stage of life where you may be retiring, you may be looking at a fixed income, you may be, looking at some health issues. That's going to cause anxiety if you do not have a good support group, if you do not have a good doctor, a good therapist, or life coach. Yeah. But you're not alone. Yeah. That's huge.
I think that is really important. And I think we do forget that. Should I have not been able to pull you on tonight, I did have a little list of things and actually phone a friend. Remember that show? It was like, if you didn't know the answer, you phone a friend, the competition.
Was that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, answer the questions. Yeah. But that was one of them, is have a close, trusted friend. And, it seems like that has always been a challenge for me because I've had trust issues for a long time. So finding someone that you can call and feel like they've got your back and they really love you. I was a little questioning whether that was even really, I have friends, but I just kind of grew up as a nerd in high school and the mean girls, right? And so I never really learned to be part of community until the retreat that you and I were just at several months ago. And the women there, we were all like-minded. So I think what you're saying about finding a common interest pulls everybody together too. So yeah, if you can go on and find a group, but nothing calms me down. Even, like I can be just kind of losing my mind and I'll just call my fiance in the morning and I'll be like, okay, help me breathe through this because I have this situation. And, he'll just talk me off the ledge, and I just really think before I go and vomit my anxiety in my office, it's really nice to just have that one person that you can just say, this is how I'm feeling. Kind of be a sounding board a little bit. But you want that person to be someone who truly has your best interest, because they can stir the pot too. So I think it's careful. You got to be a little bit careful.
And that's where the people that you surround yourself with the closest. I think that's part of the beauty of moving into the crone stage, is the wisdom that has been garnered, learned throughout life. And it gives you a bit more discretion, the ability to choose people more wisely. I know in my 50s much more of what I am looking for in a friend than I did when I was, 15. I didn't know. But I know the kind of people that I want in my life. I have a good spiritual life. And so, I ask God to send me the right people at the right time, that we can benefit both directions, not just me benefit, but I like to, be a friend to somebody also. There's a lot to be said. What is it that it's fun to receive a gift, but it's way more fun to give one? And friendships are kind of like that. The more that you put into it, the more fun it is. And so when you surround yourself with like-minded women who want to invest in a relationship and don't want to tear you down, and they take joy in your successes. And I always say that I know I've got a good group of girlfriends when I can walk out of the room and I know that none of them are saying negative things about me. And that's big.
And that's not as common as it should be. I mean, it's really fascinating. I read a book one time called The Female Brain, and I highly recommend it. It's total nerdy science, of course, that I love that. But it talks about the different hormones and literally the reptilian brain, the brain stem of the protective mechanism of women having safety in a tribe. And so they talk about lion tribes and how, like, when the male goes out to get food, basically, if a lion has a baby in her belly, she can't run. She's, pretty much defenseless. And so the tribe of the other lionesses, she's really dependent on. And so the author of the book actually kind of goes into some of the behaviors of, like, so, you wonder why girls in high school, we have the mean girl thing, right? And so there is this sense of community that can be born out of the negative as much as the positive sometimes. And so it's like the whispers and the gossips, because that actually, it's a dysfunctional connection, but it actually makes tighter bonds, because now you and I share something that they don't share. And so now we have these tighter bonds. And I always wondered things like that. I was never one of the popular girls or the cheerleaders, and I was like, I just looked at them and I thought, they're gossiping and they're being so mean, but they are really tight, and there had to have been some protection in that for them. So I just stuck my head in a book and I was fine. But I just think it's fascinating, the chemistry of relationship. And I also think that the anxiety that comes oftentimes can be your home life and the lack of relationship. And, it's so much multifactorial. But if you feel like you're so busy that you can't be present for your family at home, I can so remember times when I would be feeling guilty when I was at work because I felt like I should be at home. And then when I was home, I felt guilty like I should be at work. And there was never any peace in between. So talk about anxiety. I mean, just lit up all the time with, who am I and what am I doing? And so I think that phase of life, like you're talking about, is just really important, because we have this opportunity to slow down just a little bit, and we have perspective. So perspective changes everything too.
Perspective is huge. I think that I like that you use that word, because we have a lot that we can back on and see where we've grown,
Mhm.
where it was positive for us, where it was negative. Whereas when you're a teenager in your 20s, you don't have a whole lot of perspective. You can be wise, you can be smart, you can be all of these different things, but you're still not going to have the perspective and the wisdom that someone our age has.
Mhm.
And someone just asked a question about what you are doctoring. Did you see that? I think they
Yeah.
might have just joined.
Yeah. Yeah, our moderator blocks people sometimes because they say weird stuff. I mean, you never know. When you have so many people out there, and it's just like those people probably have some anxiety too, because it's like, that they just want to like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why we could do a whole talk on that, why people are, feel like they have to like say stupid things. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm all about light and love and loving on people. And I'm just like, I stay too busy to be like trying to rain on other people's parades and just be, go start your own TikTok live and talk about your own stuff.
Yeah, leave this one alone. So I have a question for you, because I know that you've been, working so much with the hormones and balancing things out. Do you believe that there are some people who have a purely chemical makeup that lends itself to anxiety, depression? I was born with it. I mean, I could tell you when I was about to have an anxiety attack or depression, because the top of my head would burn, my scalp would get hot, much like hot flashes now, but it was from as far back as I can remember.
Yeah.
So do you think that kind of a chemical situation can also be addressed with hormones? Am I making my question clear as mud?
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me that I really believe this could be a whole nother talk, but the DNA has memory in it. And there have been so many studies to prove that things can be transferred down and, in through the DNA. And so anxiety is definitely one. Cortisol is the main stress hormone. And so if you're in if you're in your mother's womb and she's really stressed, that cortisol response it just floods the brain, right? And so your hormones like oxytocin, which are your connection and your social connection hormones, really just get kind of booted out. And a baby's response when it cries, the mother holds it and it gets that oxytocin response to calm the cortisol response down. And that's all part of the normal bonding process. And so some moms just really don't bond that well. And so we think that it's kind of in that next stage where the kids are interacting with the parents and that the anxiety starts there because maybe there's some drama or trauma in the home, but it starts in the womb and maybe even back through the DNA from a couple of generations ago. So those chemical imbalances, because we have, GABA and serotonin and dopamine and all that's interacting. I wish that we could just pin one hormone down like estrogen and say, this is all you need. But, that's part of it. That's part of what we do with our program too, with Bliss, is we work with people and educate them and listen to them and coaching too. And so it blends in perfectly with what you do. I mean, we have just this perfect little marriage of, our programs. I'm so excited that you're going to start doing hormones with us too, because really you can override those signals. And it's kind of like, and I have to do a little shout out to a sponsor too, Ashwanda. And you could do TikTok shop. You can order this if you want to. This is really good stuff. It's kind of like, it tastes kind of rooty, but anyway, so like supplements and things like that can really help change brain chemistry and balance it out. So, yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of things like 5-HTP, and melatonin actually helps with sleep. But if you're sleeping better, all that can spill over too. So I think that there are so many changes that happen in our environment. We have all these endocrine disruptors and these chemicals on our food supply. And so, now we're dealing with, moms in their 20s, 16 to 20, and they're having babies now that have the influence of these chemicals that we never had before. We're seeing obesity rates. We're seeing, so many crazy things. And then we wonder why we're having anxiety, or Oh my gosh. I don't know if this happened to you, Catherine, but when I was a kid, we were just starting to move into the sugar overload era. And
Yes.
my mom would make us
Yes.
Captain Crunch or Fruity Pebbles for breakfast. And some mornings it was literally, you can't make this up, a honey bun and a Coke, because the caffeine will help you do better at school. I mean, this, you cannot make this up. And so I literally remember I had, as soon as I started into menstrual cycles, I was in so much pain. I had endometriosis, PCOS right out of the gate. And I remember getting to college and just having crippling dysmenorrhea. And I remember I hurt all over the inflammation in my body. And my son's dad at the time, he said, "You eat like crap, Tammy." He's like, "Why don't you just start cleaning up your body, eating some vegetables?" And I mean, it was just kind of nuts. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
So
but
it changed
sugar,
everything.
it's easier to kick meth than it is to kick sugar, is what I have heard.
Yeah.
I mean, the sugar is a drug, and
Mhm.
it's been packaged up real pretty and put cartoon characters on the boxes, and it's all happy and great.
Yeah.
And we are doing our children a huge disservice. And I really hope that we are moving more towards a healthier lifestyle for our children, if for nothing else. I mean, you're right. We hit it when sugar was how you perked yourself up and kept going. A little sugar and a little caffeine.
One of my highest anxiety points is like midday. If I've had a high carbohydrate load for lunch, like we decide to like go out, get Subway or something like that. And like, especially if I like do a cookie or something, which I don't do real often, but then I'm like, I am just crippled with this fatigue because my insulin crashes. And then I just get so grumpy. And anxiety and grumpy seems to come hand in hand, which is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why after menopause, when our estrogen crashes, our insulin and thyroid are dysregulated. And so we're just in a constant state of progesterone deficiency, not sleeping. And then we're in a constant state of like cycled estrogen. And then we deplete our estrogen and then our brains aren't functioning. And it's just this mess of somebody's got to do something about it. And we have to change the narrative because women are walking around stuck in a narrative from 2002, over 20 years ago, that hormones cause cancer. And it's just simply not true. It's just simply not true.
And I was going to bring that
It's crazy
because that's one of the things that you and I talked about when we first met at the retreat was tell them about this study that was done where, oh my God, if you do hormone replacement, you're going to get every cancer under the sun.
Yeah. It's just nuts. Well, and then I always kind of have to do my disclaimer, and I kind of missed that there for a minute because people are out there going, "What? You said hormones can't cause cancer." Synthetic and organic or bioidentical hormones are very different. It's the difference between a strawberry and a strawberry candy, right? I mean, strawberry candy will cause diabetes. A strawberry actually has some nutrient value for you, right? Because your body can recognize it. So if you take a synthetic hormone, like in a birth control pill, yeah, it absolutely can cause dysregulation in the endothelial cells of the arteries and things like that. So it can cause strokes and immune system dysfunction, which can then cause breast cancers and things like that. But cancer in itself, if everybody's scared of cancer, that's immune dysregulation. So everybody has cancer in them all the time. It's just how your immune system handles it, right? So hormone balance is everything to prevent cancer, because if your ovaries are dried up and you don't have any ovarian hormones anymore, you're a sitting duck for cancer. So it's kind of just the very opposite. But that study in 2002 that created all this craziness, in 2001, 60% of women were on some form of HRT. And a year later from that study that was so misleading, 30%. So it cut down to half. And now in 2024, we're down to 5% of women on any kind of hormone therapy. And we should be like screaming to the, off the mountaintops that this is nuts because women are in ovarian failure and they need to be treated. And they're gaslighted and told they cause cancer. But there's so much more to the story. And so the reporting that was done from that study really came out sensationalized and said 1 in 4 women will get breast cancer if they take hormones. And it's just simply not true. Even if it was synthetic hormones, I mean, yeah, it's just nuts. And so they weren't doing things to balance out like progesterone with the estrogen, and they weren't taking into account smokers or, lifestyle. It was just, bam, they were giving them synthetic estrogen, and then they just made all these, conclusions that just simply weren't true, and they've been disproven. And, there's so much evidence that they've gone back and said, that's all crap. And, it's just sad because that's hurting a lot of women, a lot.
Absolutely. I remember coming home from a doctor's appointment a few years back and crying to my husband because I was told if I was going to treat any of these perimenopausal and menopausal things, hormone replacements, the only thing I can do, and it will cause cancer.
Yeah.
So I came home crying. I can either be miserable or I can get cancer.
Yeah.
So talk about anxiety.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that is anxiety inducing when you have to choose between feeling awful all the time and getting an aggressive form of cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to make that. We shouldn't have to make that choice.
No, we shouldn't. It's a thing. Well, honey bunny, I've enjoyed this so much. And I think we're right on the hour here, but we have to do this like all the time. I love it. But I do want to tell her.
So much fun. Thank you.
I
Thank you
do.
for having me on too.
Oh, so fun. I do want to tell our people, if you have been gaslighted or if nobody will listen to you, we have our program, hormonebliss.com, and we have our Christmas special. Go get a test kit. They'll mail it to you. You just literally spit in a tube and send it in. Somebody had asked me earlier about saliva testing. Saliva testing is great to get a measurement of what's actually in the tissues. We do blood tests a lot in our office just because I do insulin and thyroid and vitamin D and all the things with it. So we get a really big picture. But if you just want a picture of what your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are doing, and you want to get just started, it's a great place to start. So it's normally a $300 kit, and it's only $119 this month for our Christmas special. So get one for your friend, because who doesn't? What woman having miserable symptoms, brain fog and weight gain and not sleeping, doesn't have a few friends like that too? So that would be a great Christmas present. And and so we'll have to work together a lot, Catherine, because I know we can share and change a lot of lives too. So I'm excited.
I agree.
Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know Dr. Tammy personally, she's for real. I mean, this sweet, beautiful face and these beautiful words and all of that. This is not a put on. She is amazing. She is wonderful. And so I highly recommend getting an appointment with her, doing some of this testing. Don't let doctors tell you that you have to just suffer in silence. You don't have to.
And Catherine, if they were wanting to do a retreat with you, how would they find you?
Okay, so I'm on Facebook as Catherine Blackman Carroll.
Okay.
I think you can see how I spell Catherine on my name right there, and it's BLACKMON.
Okay.
And Carroll, CARROLL.
Okay.
And if y'all reach out to Tammy,
yeah,
I'm sure
right,
that Tammy can hook us up too. I'm working on my website, becomingcrone.net, and that's becoming crone with a dash. And then I'll have Catherine at becomingcrone.net also. So try me on Facebook first. Best way to reach me right now until I get all of my stuff set up.
Okay. Yeah. We've talked about doing a retreat together. So that would be super fun someday soon.
It's going to be wonderful. And we're going to have it all planned by April. And we're going to know what we're doing.
We'll know what we're doing. All right. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everybody watching. And I do this every night at 7. So you guys come hang out with me. You have your questions. Somebody wanted me to talk about adrenal fatigue, which is very much related. And tomorrow night, the topic is depression. And so I think adrenal fatigue will be really good for the carryover to lead into that. So we'll definitely cover that. And I love you all very, very much. And I just want you to have a wonderful, blessed evening. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Catherine.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.